afternoon and welcome to the second webinar of Fashion on a Mission, Style for the Planet. I'm Lina Delgado, Executive Director of the Colombian American Association. We are very pleased to have with us today two Colombian fashion designers who stand out in the fashion industry in Colombia and internationally, Laura Lawrence and our good friend Raul Penaranda. I would also like to welcome to our moderator for today, Camila Villamil. Camila holds a degree in social communication and journalism from the University of La Sabana. She writes about fashion and trends for one of the most important newspapers in Colombia, El Tiempo. Camila has been invited to fashion weeks in New York, Milan, Paris, and other cities in Latin America. She's also a professor and coordinator of the Fashion Communication and Journalism Certificate at University of La Sabana. Thank you, Laura, Raul, and Camila for accepting our invitation to be part of this event, in which we would like to recognize Colombia as one of the pioneer countries in Latin America in sustainable development and ethic practices. Colombia has become a fashion powerhouse thanks to the work of industry designers like Laura and Raul. Our goal with Fashion on a Mission is to create an extraordinary event where we connect, educate, and inspire the belief that together we can make a change in the society through fashion. Last but not least, I would like to thank our partners, Student Nomade, the Bosa Dream, LCI Bogotá, University Jorge Tadeo Lozano, University Sergio Arboleda, and the International Movement for Sustainable Latin American Fashion, UniversoMOLA. I hope you enjoy the program, and Camila, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure for me to be here with you guys. I would like to start this conversation doing a little introduction about our guest. So to continue with this program of the second edition of Fashion on a Mission, today we have two very special guests who will share the story and the work behind their creative process and the development of their brand and designs. So we have with us today the Colombian fashion designer, Laura Lawrence, whose work is defined by a strictly raw approach to design, textiles, interventions wrap around shapes, artisanal processes, and the commitment to sustain and empower minority groups and local indigenous communities in our country. Welcome, Laura. It is a pleasure to share this afternoon with you. And we will also share this conversation with fashion designer, Colombian Venezuelan fashion designer, Raul Penaranda. Hello, Raul. So Raul has become one of the most influential Latin designers and has also created a successful career in New York City. Raul was declared by Vogue Mexico magazine as the new king of New York Fashion Week and the third Latin brand after Oscar de la Renta and Carolina Herrera that has presented 21 collections uninterrupted in the official calendar of New York Fashion Week. Laura and Raul, once again, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thanks to all the participants. Remember that you can send your questions in the Q&A, and then we will try to answer as many as possible, okay? I would like to start this webinar by asking each of you about your story. This is very important to know. How did you get started in the fashion industry? And also, I really want to know what has been your greatest achievement. So, Laura, you go first. Welcome.
Thanks for having me here and to share this space with you. Well, I didn't went to fashion school. I study arts, fine arts. But my mother and my grandma, we are three sisters, and they used to to make all the costumes for the ballet presentations here in Bogotá, in El Teatro Colón. So by seeing my mom and my grandma, how they sew everything, I learned. So I'm a self-trained designer. So that's how everything started. And then when I went to the university in La Universidad de los Andes, I didn't have money, so I started making my own clothes. And people was like, "Oh, Laura, I like that dress," and I was like, "Okay, I sell it to you." And I have like this. I really get enchanted with the idea of that space between an idea, the body, the fabric, and like the interchange between all these stages. And that's how I started. I always said that it was like a mistake. I was the kind of artist that used to think that fashion was like I thought like art was like art. So fashion for me was kind of, like, so I never had like this idea about being a fashion designer, but that's life. And I've been doing this for, I don't know, like maybe 12 years. And I really love everything that involved fabrics, fashion. And for me, it's just a stage. It's like a stage where you can talk about so many things and so many stories. And it's like a space, like an in-between space where a lot of things can happen. That's how I started.
That's amazing. And what has been your greatest achievement?
Well, I'm very into processes. I'm not the kind of person that believe like I achieve something. And when you make clothes, it's like the process and it's very, how I work is like very organic, and it's like a chaotic order in a way. So I don't believe like to be, I don't know, I can tell you, last month, Vogue Italy chose the brand as one of the 5 Latin American brands. You have to see the British Council invited us as last year to make a project in Somerset House. I can say that are like achievements, but I think it's kind of I really get involved in the process, and well, the work with the community, with the indigenous community, is a transgender indigenous community. For me, it's kind of it's not like a stamp, but it's kind of it's what I really feel like more happy to meet the girls and do all what we have been doing together. That's kind of what I feel more, I will not say proud, but it's like it has taught me so many things and in many levels, and the unknown realities of our country, and that kind of creative processes with the community for me is I really love that part of my career.
Excellent. We will talk about this later. So thank you so much for your introduction. And now, Raul, what's your story?
Well, first of all, thank you, Lina. Thank you, everyone, the Colombian American Association, for inviting me to this amazing virtual event. Basically, the Raul story is a simple story of that little boy that came from an amazing family where my mom was telling me, you can do anything in the world as long as you don't feel that you're better than anyone. And it came from a place where my dad is the most disciplined guy in the world, the coach of the American soccer team in Colombia. And me being the first boy, he's like, this is the soccer player. And I was so bad. So my mom is a seamstress, and I used to see how she made dresses for my sister and a t-shirt for me. And I love how much love and energy she put into that. So since a very young age, I gotta tell you that I knew what I wanted to become when I grew up. And it was basically when I used to see the commercial of Christian Dior, Fendi, Yves Saint Laurent, I will tell my mom, Mom, I'm gonna be one of those. And my mom said, work hard, be humble, make mistakes, and you find your own identity. So, you know, I've been, I'm a Colombo-Venezuelan designer. We left from Colombia to Venezuela. Then from Venezuela, I got my eyes into New York, because if I wanted to be a power fashion house, New York is the place to be. So I came to New York, and I was so grateful enough that I started working for iconic fashion houses such as Donna Karan, Tommy Hilfiger. Then I landed in my dream job as an Oscar de la Renta. And I did a collaboration with Zach Posen. And I gotta tell you something. I learned the good, I learned the bad, and I find my own identity. I knew that my place in fashion wasn't only to create beautiful dresses and to lead the trend in that area, but it was basically to inspire, to educate, and to ignite a conversation. Because I gotta tell you, my journey hasn't been easy at all. It was super challenging, but all those challenging moments had made me who I am. And I gotta tell you that my biggest achievement is, for 10 years that I have my brand, for 20 years that I'm in fashion, to stay true to who I am, to stay true to my culture, my humble beginnings, and to show the world that you can create a luxury brand crafted with kindness, where you can love the ecosystem, you can love all the living species, and I'm here as an example of that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Raul, for your introduction. I think now we can continue with the questions. And meanwhile, we're going to show you some pictures about some designs, okay, of our guest. Laura, I will start with you. So how do you define sustainability in fashion, and why is Laura Lawrence a sustainable brand?
Well, I think sustainability nowadays has become like a big word, and it's overused. So when words become to be overused, they, like, in a way, lose their meaning, because everyone is like using it to be like, I always said that for me, fashion is more about building than belonging to something. As Raul was telling us, is to find a voice, your own voice, and your own fingerprints, and your own calligraphy. And I think sustainability for me, it's more about circular processes and transparency in the processes, commitment to the social, economical, and environmental issues. And in a way, I don't, like, people says, oh, Laura Lawrence is a sustainable brand. I think sustainability is such a big word, and it's because to be 100% sustainable, you have to close all the loops of the fashion industry, which is like an utopia, an utopia, how do you say that?
Utopia, yeah.
An utopia, exactly. For me, it's kind of, but the important things about utopia is that maybe you can say, oh, I'm 100% this, but that idea and that responsibility and commitment makes you walk in a more responsible and honest way. And that's, for me, what it's about, sustainability. So yes, I think, and in the brand, we have like our little book, and it's about like four stages. One is eco-dyeing processes and processes with ancestral knowledge of our indigenous groups that they have been lost, unfortunately, because of the encounter of the cultural impact about like the city and the reserves. So it's how to take again all that knowledge in the manipulation of the fabrics. Also with the water, we have like with we have like more responsible processes. Also, we work with the communities, and the way we work with them is about, because these days it's like a pretty difficult, and it's like a really thin line between cultural appropriation with the designers. So the way that we have been working with the community is that I think like in the last century, it was all about showing the other, you know, like if it was like something in a museum, like, you know, oh, I work with this, I do that, and you take it and then you put it like in a white canvas, and then this is it. And, you know, like, I really think that these days, communities and minority groups, they have to be center and front of the conversation. We can't keep doing that idea, because I think if you keep doing that, they're gonna be in the back, as it's always have been. So that's another like important part of the brand, like how we work, because I think fashion it's not only about the what, but how you do things. So, for example, with the transgender girls, the British Fashion Council invited us to London to show to this contemporary place called Somerset House to make an exhibition. And I went with two of the girls of the community, and we create all these creative dialogues together. It wasn't like I didn't have to represent, I don't have to represent nobody, because they have their own voice, you know. And I think that's the way that we have been like making this knitting in a way. Well, that's kind of what.
No, that's a lot. Thank you so much, Lara. Okay, so we know that many young designers are watching us right now. And Raul, I would like to ask you, from your experience, what are the sustainable practices that a brand or a fashion designer should implement?
Thank you, Camila, for that amazing question. Something that brings me joy, because one of the things besides designing that I love the most is to coach and to be that, you know, godfather to new designers, and to show them that there is, you know, there is a different way to do things. And I gotta tell you that one of the most important things is to create a product that embrace our ecosystem, that embrace our surroundings, and something that is telling a story. I think that the best practice is to understand that whatever we do, it has a reaction. And therefore, we have to basically design in a mindfulness way. This has to say that we have to basically care. We have to care not only for whoever, which is the designer, create the piece, but the seamstress, the graphic designers, like Lawrence was saying, the indigenous that is putting that beautiful story into that product. And to me, those practices has to be with responsibility. You have to have care. You have to have knowledge, because in the fashion world, Camila, I think that we have two entities. We want to feed the ego, and we want to feed the humbleness. In the ego, we want to feel fabulous. We want to feel that we're selling more than anybody. And when we do that, we forget about the living species. We forget about the planet. We forget that if we mass produce, we have an inventory. And that's what's happening right now in the world, that is going into waste, and that is polluting our air. So to me, it's basically understanding that even if it's a small scale, or if it's a big scale with limited pieces, you have to be responsible, and you have to tell a story. You have to connect. And right now, the patterns of this consumer are changing, because we want to feel connected. We cannot be just producing 10,000 units. And that's why, you know, in my team, I gotta tell you that everything has a personality. Everything we design has a reason for being. And we're proudly one of the few luxury sustainable brands where we don't use animal fur, we don't use anything of animal. And what we do is that we want to show that You can have the power to look luxury, but also the power to be humble. And that's why we always hashtag, luxury brand crafted with kindness. And I think the young generation has an amazing responsibility. Fashion is in your hands. Make the best of it, because you know what? You guys are all we have.
Thank you, Raul, for this beautiful message. Okay, so to start talking about social responsibility in fashion, Laura, how is the process of your work with the communities and how do they get involved?
Well, I always said that, as Raul was sharing with us, I think as a designer, you are not just a fashion designer, you are like an integral designer, and you have the responsibility to design everything that it's alive, because as you were telling, the materials that we are what we eat, what we wear, what we say. So I think when you stop thinking that the table, it comes from the wood, so how to respect the material from its origin. And I think that idea took me to this idea about that it's not about the others, it's about us. So that's the way that we have been building this project with the community, because our society is always about black, white, beautiful, ugly, always this dualistic reality. So I think it's time, and in this new era, and young designers and everyone, they the borders, everything start to vanish, and we have to, and we enter in another era called the Aquarian era, and it's all about this liquid and airy era about no borders in a way. And that's how we have been building the project with the community. With the girls, I met Rosana, which is the leader of the project, in a fair here called Artesanías de Colombia. I have heard about the girls a few years ago because a journalist, a Spanish journalist friend of mine, she told me, and I was really, I thought oh, it's so difficult to be an indigenous here, and how difficult it will be to be a minority inside another minority, because it's transgender, which is one of the most vulnerable communities, not only in Colombia, worldwide. So I was wow. And when I met Rosana, we make this connection. I always start my projects in an organic way. And we have this chemistry, and she said to me, Laura, can I invite you to my community? And I said, yeah, for sure, I will go. But she thought it was oh yes, I will go, and never happened. No, actually, I took my bag and I went to the community, and I met, and they were super open, because the community, it's located in an area that was really, I also work with the ex-combatants of the civil war here in Colombia. So I always have this, and that area, it's it was a red area, because it was super violent a few years ago. So when I went there, they were everyone was Laura, you're crazy. They are gonna, and I said, no. And they, when I arrived there, they opened their arms, and they were super humble and super open with me. And then I saw the ability they have with the craft and with the beads to make these beautiful knits with beads. And I said, we can do something together. And they were yes, of course. And that's how we started working. And it has been doing the project. That's what I always said, that you have to have a drive to do something, what do you, but maybe in the process, everything it's going to be more fantastic than what you think. Actually, some people from MAC, they come here, when they knew about the project, they came here to support the community with some things that we needed. And a lot of people that has been joining to the project, the British Council, here in Artesanías de Colombia, the artisans, they didn't support the gay community in the artisans. They didn't, and with the project, it started to have the visibility and a lot of like also in political things. It has helped to make them like visible in that part of the, you know, like it has been like crazy, like all these things like layers and layers, and that's how we started, and we haven't finished. I always said that it's like a creative dialogue in a process without end.
Excellent, Laura. Thank you. Raul, are you there? I can't see you. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Hi.
Excellent. So, Raul, you recently announced that you are going to have a new factory in Cali, Colombia. That's amazing. To produce on a large scale. Tell us about this project and what it means to you.
Well, you know, it's a big step and a dream come true. And just to correct, it's not that we're gonna produce in large scale. We're gonna do capsule collection because, you know, we're not a mass production brand. So large scale means in a large scale of being proud. So I just want to clear that because, you know, I don't want to have that kind of like just a position. So yeah, like you just said, you know, Camila, I feel that fashion is a personal opinion. And basically our clothing is the way we express that opinion into the world. I believe also that fashion and philosophy, because always this kind of like thinker that I want to find the reason of everything. And I'm, you know, I believe that every human being is in a cycle. It's called the cycle of heroes. And this cycle goes, it's called initiation, separation, and return. I am right now in the return phase, which means I left Colombia and I established my brand in New York. And now with the responsibility that I have, I want to go back to Cali, which is my city, to open the biggest factory where we want to hire the single mom, house of, you know, head of household. We want to be the bridge of show that Colombia is full of talent, beautiful fabrics. And, you know, this is basically a project that we're doing with Clara Luz, the governor of Cali, where we want to kind of like not only bring a factory, but bring a factory with conscience, a factory with a purpose. And we're so excited because we were supposed to kind of like start the process last year, but the pandemic, you know, delayed everything. But yeah, it's something that I'm very proud because Camila, I believe this. I left my country because I want to become the better version that Raul can be. I made mistakes. I learned lessons from those mistakes. And right now that I have the experience, I want to go back and continue what I'm doing here in New York, which is kind of like be the mentor for all those designers that they may not know what they have to do, what are their goals. Because, you know, Camila, in life, like I was saying, the cycle of heroes, once you encounter yourself, you discover that you're made of gold. So this factory in Colombia, in Cali, is basically a dream that I have for 10 years, but it needed to be right. And it's going to be our headquarters. And as you know, it will be our first time present of selling our line in Colombia. So I'm very excited. And for the inauguration, all of you have to come.
Of course, we can miss it. We cannot miss it. Okay, so before moving on to the Q&A, Laura, tell us about the projects that you are working right now and how do you see the future of your brand?
Well, as many creative people during the quarantine, I'm going to launch my first men's collection with an artist and a writer. It's gonna be a capsule collection, and then it's like really arty what we're going to do, but it's super fun. And I think it has like all the circular processes that we always are committed with the brand. So zero waste patterning, we always upcycle fabrics and how to, so it's gonna be like all the DNA of the brand in this capsule men's first collection. That's one of the projects that I have. Also, I've been working with during the pandemic. I said to myself, okay, because I can't leave the indigenous like there, and you know, like in the countryside, it's pretty difficult, the situation. So we made a project that the name is No Corona, and it's like the two emoticons, like this, and a queen and the crown.
Nice.
And we are making, and it's like no corona, like, and we're making this project with because we have this team lab with some partners in London, where with the community, our creative team in London and my team here in Bogota, we're making this project, and it's about like, well, it's a surprise, but it's with the community, and well, that's it. We used to present it twice a year, our collection, our main collection in Paris. Unfortunately, this season, we are not gonna present this season because we can't go there, but we're gonna be, and it's actually right now in this moment is where I usually go there to present it. And we're gonna be in the Bogota Fashion Week tomorrow, because it's 3 days. I'm going to be tomorrow in the Bogota Fashion Week, so that's what we are cooking.
I wanted to ask you about your participation in Bogota Fashion Week, but before that, Laura, this surprise that you were talking about is gonna be for this year or next year?
Next year. Because yes, okay. And we are also making a film with a filmmaker that we always work. We have like this creative multidisciplinary team all over the world, and this year we were going to launch the film with the community and all what we have been doing, but we couldn't do it for obvious reasons. So everything is going to be for next year. But we have, it's like in a way, I think it's been nice because you have like more time to how do you say, like to nourish things, like from, because in fashion you're always kind of running. I try to make like a small collection, not that big, like to have my time to really nourish and put all the energy. Like, I think it's not about quantity, it's about quality, but you know, you are always like in a hurry. So with this project, we have been like, it's been really nice because we had more time to make things like more subtle in a way.
Excellent. And you were talking about also Bogota Fashion Week. How is going to be your participation tomorrow?
Well, everything is gonna be digital. So last week we made like a video, and it's gonna be like, it's more like a wholesale platform. So it's more like for big buyers and all that, but we are there, and tomorrow we will be there with all the other designers.
Excellent. And Raul, tell us about your New York Fashion Week presentation. It was 2 weeks ago, I think. 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yes, I gotta tell you that there is usually 400 brands that usually present in Fashion Week, and you know, because you've been here many times. Unfortunately, there were only 34 of us presented. Big, you know, big brands like Stella McCarthy couldn't show, Tommy Hilfiger. But you know what Raul said? You know what? Instead of making a brand new collection, I want to use the power of fashion to create a video. And this video, this collection was called Resilience, because we want to kind of like set that character within ourselves is our best, protection towards what's happening. So what we did was this, Camila, we pick up 6 of our top models. We let them choose what dress they want. We send the dress to them, and they start taking a video when they were getting ready. And the message, besides the trends of the collection, was that we don't need an audience to love ourselves. It was a message of mental health. It was a message that, you know, we are in this quarantine, but you know what? I can love myself and get ready, and I don't need to show that to anybody. So our video virtual presentation, Resilience, was such a hit to the point that actually now Netflix is doing a larger episode of our presentation in Fashion Week. So that's something that came out that we're very proud. And, you know, it's just basically to continue to show that Latin designers, the Latin DNA can be done nicely. So I'm very happy.
Excellent. And I have a final question for you both. It's about the future of fashion. What do you think that is going to happen in general terms?
You know what? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you can go ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
And then Laura.
I think that, you know what, fashion is resetting. Like everything, fashion is rewiring. I think that we got to the point that we're producing too much. We are basically, from the moment we wake up, we're in a race to nowhere. We are, you know, from losing the subway. So I think that right now, even here in New York, big companies and designers, and we're one of them, we're basically trying to rewire fashion in the sense that the production stage, the way that you buy, the way you present the show needs to be organic. And why organic is because you cannot design by a season. You have to design by occasion. You have to think and be sensitive that right now people just, instead of buying a piece, they want to buy a piece where they can use it many times. So I think that, you know, fashion is resetting. I think fashion is becoming more sensitive, is becoming more mindful, and you have a legacy, because otherwise there is no reason for being.
Okay, to answer the question, I always like to go to the etymology of the words, and the etymology of fashion is to repeat a pattern, like to repeat something. And I think, but it's not funny, but the paradox about that definition is that fashion, you repeat a pattern, but at the same time, you have to destroy the pattern all the time. And that not only in the literal sense of the construction of a dress or an outfit, but in the behavior, in the consumer behavior, in the production behavior, in all the cycle of fashion. So I think the future of fashion is like keep breaking those compulsive behaviors that are associated with fashion, and because the opposite of compulsion is consciousness. So I think the future of fashion is consciousness and not compulsion, you know, and that has to see in all the, because fashion it's like transversal to the system. So that's like my idea of the future of fashion, and for future designers is how to be more conscious and not compulsive, repeating like crazy, you know, like it's more about how to like, because I think that also the power of clothes, fashion, it's that power that it talks about identity, it talks about a culture, so many things without saying a word. So you have that power, and you put that power every day over your skin, it's like a second skin. So how to use that power of the clothes, of the fabrics, of all the system that lives behind these, to be more conscious. And I think there's not one way to do that. And my invitation is, I actually have one project called Millones de Maneras, which is like millions of ways. And it's like a call for people to, everyone has a fingerprint. So how we're going to crush into the system and do things, because I think for a beautiful thing, it's like a coin. it's a coin. It doesn't have like two faces. It's not like this and that. It is one coin, and it has, and both faces cohabit in the one. And I think the future is about integration and consciousness. And everyone has to see how it's going to write that story. That's what I think.
Okay, so thank you both very much. I really loved to share this webinar with you. I learned a lot. Of course, I have a lot of more questions, but I think we have like a couple minutes to go to the questions that some of the participants already sent. Okay, so I will read some of them. The first question is for Laura. Laura, your studio looks amazing. Where is it located?
Oh, thank you so much. It is located in an old house in a neighborhood called Chapinero Alto. Actually, I took this
in Bogotá.
In Bogotá. In Bogotá. I took this place when I was a teenager. I didn't have money, and I took this beautiful house. It wasn't a fancy neighborhood, and the rent was really cheap, and I took it, and then I used to rent all the spaces of the house, because it's a big house, to a jeweler, like to an artist, to different creative people. And that's how I started. I've been in this studio since I was a kid.
Looks beautiful. Raul, I read that you are changing the CEO of your brand. How is this going to happen?
Well, thank you for the question, because you know what? I got to tell you that one of my mission statement is to become one of the biggest power fashion house for the next generation with a humble heart. But that goal needs to have a leader. And I got to tell you that we are so pleased to bring on board Tom Murray, who was the CEO of Calvin Klein for 17 years. And Tom Murray was with Calvin Klein, and he was the reason that Calvin Klein became an $8 billion brand. And I got to tell you that he started with us in the middle of the pandemic. And we're moving to bring Raul to a global stage, but very mindfulness. We want to make sure that we are that brand that is inclusive. We are the brand that would want to break the stereotypes. And I think that I'm so excited about that, partnership.
Thank you. I have one more question for Laura. How can we help or support the communities you are working with?
Actually, I have, if you buy one of the pieces that we make together, it's a way to support them, because, like everything in this industry is that it goes good for you, it goes good for the other, and everything goes like that. But I have another project with them, because they ask me, I sent during the pandemic, I sent people their contact of the community, and through Rosana, which is the leader. So if you are interested in supporting the community, like directly, because, I don't want to be like, I work with them and we have like this team lab, but I also love to see how they flourish themselves without me. So I always share the contact of Rosana, and and you can support the community directly if you want. And if you said, oh, Laura, I have this idea, we can do this, it's another way of supporting. But it depends on what you want, but there are many ways to support the community, because the truth is that they are totally, it's like a rural area, and they are forgotten by the government policies. So every support with the community will be more than welcome. You can write me a DM and I will answer immediately.
Thank you. Yes, I was thinking, guys, I don't know if you want to share with us your social media, your websites, your emails, I don't know, if you want to write it in the chat or just tell us. Okay?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Mine is Laura Lawrence.
And mine is basically Raul _ Penaranda. Instagram and Facebook. And, you know, thank you for this amazing opportunity to connect with everybody, Camila. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
to you. No, thank you. It was a pleasure. I think we're done. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. No, here's Lina again. Hi, Lina. We can't hear you, Lina.
Hold on.
It happened. No, it was me as always that I
There you go.
I forgot that I'm in mute. Thank you so much. And I have two questions. One for Laura, since we have few minutes, 4 more minutes to before the panel ended, and one for Raul. So, Laura, could you tell us a little bit more about the project with the trans indigenous that you have in Colombia and how difficult it is for them to be who they are?
Super difficult. Super difficult because they've been like stigmatized, and the physical and emotional violence, it's like, because they, you know, hear people with, it's very racist with indigenous people, and to be trans and indigenous is like mega difficult. Really, the stories, every time it's like you are always close to tears because they are super, but the good thing about creativity and this kind and beautiful things and beautiful projects and getting together, and people that start like saying, Laura, I want to do something, and people come to me, Laura, I want to, and that's also the magic of fashion. So with the project, it started like almost 4 years ago. They are now like rock stars, and in their own community. They used to be also like rejected in their own community because they were like estranged, they were outcast in their own community. So, and you know, like because of Catholicism, when the colonial process, when they had to live like their cosmovision, indigenous cosmovision, they turn into Catholicism. It's more radical than when you convert yourself, than when you, so they are like super machistas, and they have everything like in a dualistic terms. So, but the curious thing about that is like before the colonization, they were no gender, they were not masculine and feminine. It was just the energies. It was just like it was not, because they didn't have like the separation. So with this project and with everything that has happened, also La Deutsche Welle, this German channel, they choose us like with the project as one examples of Latin American brands that are changing the paradigms in Latin America with this kind of projects. And La Deutsche Welle also inject to the visibility in a really beautiful documentary of the community, and now they have become like the leaders of creative projects in the community. While 3 years ago they were like outcast, and they were like you know, like all we chat all the time, and they were, Laura, no, we don't have like a space to make things now. And they were like, no, I'm gonna commit suicide. It was crazy because they were like so into the corner. And with this now they have become like some stars. So nice. I think that's the power of fashion to and you know, and actually Esteban Cortázar, do you know Esteban? He's a friend of mine. He has his studio in Paris, and when he knew about the project last season, he was like, Laura, that's amazing. And for example, for the last campaign that he made, he called me and he told me, Laura, can you give me their contact? And I was like, of course. And he hired 2 of them as models of the campaign. So I'm not the only, you know, like that's like the power of fashion, you know, like that's like if we share everything is going to multiply. You know, so, and they have like visibility in Paris, and we've been in London, in Paris with them, here in Bogotá. It's been like a crazy journey. And they told me, Laura, in our wildest dreams, we never dream about working with the fashion house and doing all this crazy stuff that you always have in mind. So that's, well, I think that's like, that gives you a lot of energy and drive to keep going.
That's true. And as you mentioned, this fashion unite people and inspire people. And so this is why I want to ask this question to Raul. Lara was mentioning that, for example, they put apart these people because they are different as how we see our society. And I know that for you, now that we see the Raul that is a famous fashion designer, but you went through difficult times, and you went, like, maybe the color of your skin didn't help you, maybe your accent didn't help you, but tell us what you did instead of give up and say, okay, this is not for me. And especially when you were surrounded with like Oscar de la Renta and Donna Karan, like amazing designers that you wanted to be like them, but be like things that you thought that maybe was so difficult. How you become as who you are right now, or if those things help you to become the designer that you are right now.
You know, Lina, you bring me back to those memories, and I gotta tell you, thank you for that question, because Raul is the example that basically nothing that the world is telling you that you cannot do, you won't be able to do it. You can achieve anything you want. I gotta tell you that when I start here, a lot of people knows in a lot of like interviews, and I'm very open, because I wanted to be next to Carolina Herrera, Oscar de la Renta, Ralph Lauren. But I gotta tell you that from day one, I suffered so many harsh comments that broke my heart, but never my spirit. For some that my skin, that didn't look aristocratic. 6 years ago, one of the big buyers from one of the big department store came and said, you need to change your name, like Tom Ford or like Gucci. And you know what I said? No, if everybody learned how to say Dolce & Gabbana, they will learn how to say Raul Penaranda. And to me is this, Lina. In life, everything is based in love and in fear. Whatever happened to you, if you react based on fear, you become the victim. You become, why me, why me? In the other hand, if I react based on love, when they said to me that I look like a messenger, I will take grudges. I will use that as the gasoline for my soul and my heart to don't say a word and to work hard to show the world who I am. And today I gotta tell you that editors from the magazines call me the rebel in fashion, because before the pandemic, I would tell people, I don't design by seasons, I design by occasion. And today, everybody's like, we need to keep an eye on Raul. So I gotta tell everyone, nobody will make you feel bad without your consent. Life is not full of roses, but you can make a beautiful paradise.
Amazing. I think this panel is not just talking about social responsibility and sustainability, but I think it's more inspiring for everybody who's watching this webinar. And as a Colombian, I'm very proud of both of you, because in different part of the world and in different contexts, you are making a difference. And Raul, you were like from a normal boy that you wanted to have big dreams. Well, you became a fashion designer and a extremely nice and amazing human being. And thank you so much for being our friend and being in this panel. And Laura, I mean, I want to keep talking with you, and I want to see how we can collaborate and do amazing things, because you're just for the not giving, but keeping the voice of these people and let them shine and say you are unbelievable people and you can do amazing things and help them to see that path is, I mean, is amazing. So thank you so much. And Camila, thank you for partner with us and be the excellent moderator. And I hope to have all of you again in another panel and keep talking about life, about inspirational, and about, of course, about a fashion. Somebody was asking if we can see the Bogotá Fashion Week. So if you have the information, Laura, please send it to us. Tomorrow we're going to send the information with all the social media, all the ways that they can contact all of you. And also maybe Raul, you can send us the video for your last fashion week that I saw, and it's amazing and it's very inspiring.
Thank you, Lina. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
And last, thank you for all my team, for Lauri, Ivan, Maria Alejandra, that helped me to make this event possible. Thank you so much, and good night, and see you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
having us.
Bye, Camila.
Bye.
See ya.